Today I'm going to be discussing the fall of Rome, and although there are many events and people who contributed to the fall of Rome, and there were in fact many instances in which the empire collapsed, I will be focusing on one event in particular. This is my analysis on why the deposition of Emperor Romulus Augustus by Germanic king Odoacer is the official end of the Roman Empire. The year in which this all takes place for the most part was 476 CE or AD. The empire was split into the major empires, the Eastern Roman Empire and the Western Roman Empire. Now it is important to understand that Romulus Augustus was the last Roman emperor and was deposed by Flavius Odoacer, a German warrior. Augustus was the son of the Western Empire's general Orestes. Orestes drove the Western Emperor Julius Nepos out of Italy and gave his son the throne. Romulus Augustus ruled from October of 475 till September of 476. Now your first thought is probably, this was barely a year. Well, this is due to many reasons. One reason was that his father Orestes was actually ruling Italy in his son's name. His troops found out about Orestes' deception and thus brought up Odoacer to take the throne. Romulus was also only 14 when he became an emperor. He was still a child. Because of all of this, Romulus Augustus was sent to Campania under house arrest and was not recognized as a legitimate ruler of Italy. In comes Flavius Odoacer. Odoacer reigned from 476 to 493, already 16 more years than Augustus ever did. As said earlier, Odoacer was brought to the throne by Orestes' troops. The Roman Senate approved Odoacer as Italy's new leader and gave him the status of a patricianer. Odoacer proclaimed himself as king of Italy on August 23, 476, after pursuing and executing Orestes. However, a majority of the Roman army refused to accept Odoacer as their king, and this led to the Battle of Ravenna. The Battle of Ravenna was fought on September 2, 476, and ended 2 days later on September 4, 476. The Battle of Ravenna was fought between the mercenary troops that supported Odoacer and the remnants of the Western Roman army that did not support him. Odoacer emerged victorious on September 4th. Augustus was sent away and officially became king. The ruling of Odoacer was the end of the 1200 years of Roman rule in Italy and the end of the Roman Empire. Odoacer as a king was considered successful in many ways. First, he was able to acquire Sicily through a treaty with the Vandals. He was also able to consolidate his rule and strengthen the borders of the new kingdom of Italy. Finally, Odoacer became the most powerful man in Italy during his reign. Now introducing Theodoric, who eventually became known as Theodoric the Great and was known for being the king of the Ostrogoths. Now I must introduce Emperor Zeno, who was the Eastern Roman Emperor and one of the individuals who appointed Odoacer as emperor. However, Odoacer had increasingly been causing problems for Zeno, so Zeno directed Theodoric to invade Italy, murder Odoacer, and become emperor, and so it was done. Odoacer was now no longer the king, and a line of non-Roman rulers came into power. Theodoric was an influential leader, even though he was an Ostrogoth. However, he ruled over a kingdom of Romans and Goths, and formed alliances with kingdoms that Romans would refer to as barbarians. These kingdoms were the Visigoths, the Franks, and the Burgundians. Now, I will be discussing reasons as to why Odoacer was bad for Rome. Number 1. Zeno, the Eastern Emperor that I recently discussed, gave Odoacer the rank of a patricianer. However, Odoacer decided upon himself that he was king instead. This therefore changed the whole concept of political system in Rome. The second reason why Odoacer was bad for Rome, he refused to acknowledge Julius Nepos as the Western Emperor. He instead decided to rule over both empires, and this also fueled the anger of Zeno to go ahead and remove Odoacer from the throne. Finally, Odoacer was bad for Rome because he had the support of the Roman Senate, and this allowed him to distribute land to his followers, which led to violence. This caused issues between the mercenary troops, the Roman army, as well as Romans of Italy. Now, Why Theodoric was bad for Rome. Zeno had ordered him to overthrow Odoacer and become emperor of the peninsula. The war, however, to overthrow him took 3 years, and great damage to Ravenna and the countryside occurred that required many years and lots of money to regain its beauty. Why Theodoric was bad for Rome. Number 2. His beginning of ruling was cruel and deadly. Theodoric first murdered Odoacer in a pretty brutal way, and then he murdered the guards and their families on his way to the Palace of Lauritum to, again, murder Odoacer. Theodoric was also bad for Rome because he created the tension between the Goths versus the Romans. Now, the Goths and the Romans had many differences. This included religion, as well as Goths were forced to serve in the army, and Romans were not even allowed to bear arms. There was also a very large language difference. Theodoric had hoped to bring peace to both groups, as well as distribute equality. However, he did not allow Romans and Goths to marry each other, so this caused a lot of tension between the two groups. There are many reasons and events that led to the fall of Rome. It is most important to understand that for Romans, the year 476 was the end of an era. Romans were no longer ruling Italy, and instead Germans and Ostrogoths, non-Italians, were in charge of Romans. For Romans, their social and political views have completely changed and were now required to communicate with other cultures. A new era was just beginning, and the Empire of Rome has just fallen, thus allowing the emergence of other powers. And although Theodoric had hoped to restore the fallen cities in Italy, preserve statues, and rebuild Roman civilization from the ground up, he eventually lacked the understanding where the civilization was at the time, and this led to the failure and eventual fall of Rome. The medieval time period had now begun due to Theodoric. The end.